Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Leading Small Groups for Teenagers. And in this video, we're looking at the topic of preparing for your first small group. When it's almost time for your first small group, it's good to be thinking through what are you going to do so that your small group can get the best start possible. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to prepare for your first small group. They are: number 1, pray. Number 2, start building those group relationships. And number 3, start as you want to finish. Number 1 is prayer, which is obvious. I mean, you probably thought I was going to say that, and I did say it. So make sure you pray, because like I have said before, if God's not doing it, it's not happening. So make sure you pray for your group. Number 2, start building the relationships in your group. Over the time that you spend together, your group is going to get to know each other pretty well. But it's a good idea to start building those relationships from the very beginning. We can assume just because we know about the young people in our group, that the other people in our group know each other. And they might have been at youth group with each other for a year or 2 or 3 or 5, but that doesn't mean they know who each other are. They might not know everyone's name in the group, they might not know where everyone goes to school, they might not know much about the other people in the group, so it's your job to start building those relationships. For younger groups, you might want to make sure that you have a game up your sleeve. You know, like that game where you have the pieces of toilet paper, where you say, grab some pieces of toilet paper, and then they do, and the funny kid grabs like 30, and the shy kid grabs 2, and then you say to the kids, all right, now you got to tell us 1 fact about yourself for every piece of toilet paper. And then they're like, oh, and everyone thinks that's funny because the funny kid took too many, and then you get to learn about each other. Or you may want to play with Skittles or M&Ms. So say you have a bunch of M&Ms, say everyone take 5 M&Ms, and then they take 5 M&Ms, and then you have a bunch of questions to ask depending on what colors they have in their hand. Maybe a red one, they have to share with you their worst injury, or a blue one, their favorite person to follow on Instagram. Depending on what age your group is, you can ask different questions. They don't have to be too deep, but just questions to help young people get to know each other. You might decide that you want to be a bit more serious with your group. You might want to find out where they're at in their faith. I heard about this activity recently, which I think is from Youth Alpha, but I'm not sure. You might want to bring along a picture of a swimming pool. And you might want to say, if the swimming pool is following Jesus, and if someone's having a great relationship with Jesus, they're in the swimming pool, they're swimming laps, where are you in your relationship to Jesus? Are you sitting on the edges, just watching, deciding whether you want to get in or not? Are you just dipping your toe in the water? Are you in the water and you're drowning? Are you leaving the pool? Where are you in your relationship with Jesus? And you can get everyone to point out on the swimming pool where they're at. There are all sorts of different things you can do to get to know your group and to understand where they're at and to help each other know where each other is at. But what you start doing now is you start building those relationships. And as you build those relationships, you're building a culture of a group that knows each other and cares for each other. So think through, what are you going to do to start building those relationships from day 1? Number 3, begin as you want to continue. There are some things that you're going to do every week in your group. They are the things that will help the young people in your group to know, this is what my group is about, this is what my group is like. So last year in my group, every week we asked the question, what was the best thing and the worst thing in your week? And we did that because we wanted to hear from each other and hear how each other's weeks were going, and we valued what was going on in each other's lives. The other thing we did is that every week we went through the group norms. These were 4 things that the boys in the group decided on that they wanted to do to have a group that cared for each other. They were build each other up with your words, 1 person talking at a time, stay focused, and respect each other. And because we did that at the beginning, it meant we could come back to it throughout the rest of the time. And if we felt like someone wasn't being respectful, we say, hey, let's be respectful of each other in this group. Remember the norms, or remember 1 person talking at a time, or I think we're off track now, we got to stay focused. One of the things that we're going to do at Inner North Youth Group every week is we're going to talk about what happened at church this week. We're doing that because we come from a bunch of different churches and we want to value each person's church experience. And for those kids who don't go to church, to commend to them that church is good and there's good stuff that happens at church. Whatever you want to be doing in week 10, make sure you do it in week 1, because as you begin, so you will continue. If you want each person praying for their friends who don't know Jesus, if you want to be studying the Bible together, if you want to be praying for each other, and you want to do that every week, then do it in week 1. Because as you begin, so you will continue. Prepare for your first small group by praying for your group and by thinking through what are you going to do to start building those relationships, and by planning the rituals and the activities that you want to do every week so that you begin as you want to continue. If you're leading with a partner, then make sure that you include them in the discussion so you don't just turn up with a plan and they turn up with a plan and then it's a whole mess. But I promise you, if you do those 3 things, you'll be setting your group up on a great foundation so you can build an excellent small group. Well, that was episode number 3. I will see you next time for the really practical things that you need to do for a great small group setup. I've made these videos primarily for the youth leaders at my youth group, the Inner North Youth Group in Melbourne, but if they're helpful for you and your ministry or anyone else in YouTube land, that's fantastic. If you want to know more about me and my ministry and my books, blogs, whatever, you can find out all about that at tomfrench.com.au. The link is in the description. If you want to support the ministry of the Inner North Youth Group in Melbourne, that link is also in the description too. Otherwise, I hope you have a good one.